So if I can use a counter to count the number of times that a while loop runs, and I can use an accumulator to accumulate values each time the while loop runs, then I can easily calculate an average, which is just the sum of all the elements divided by the number of elements. So let's see if we can calculate the average of 5 test scores. I am going to call my counter variable, my loop control variable score, and I'm going to call my accumulator total, and then I'm going to create a while loop that runs 5 times and prompts the user for a score. Inside of the while loop, I'm going to accumulate the grade by adding it into my accumulator total. And then, of course, I'm going to increment my score, which is a change of the condition. We're also going to use it as our counter because we're just counting up 1 to 5. Once I am done with the while loop, I'm going to calculate the average by taking my accumulated total and dividing it by my score. And then we will print the result. I'm going to print both the total on line 18 and the average on line 19. Let me remove that second new line so that I can see what my total is, and then I can see what my average is and see if my math is working correctly. All right, so let's give it a try. We're going to do test scores 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. That should be 5 test scores. That should add up to 150. And so 150 divided by the 5 scores should be 30. And there it is. I have an average of 30. Let's run it one more time with some new values. How about if I say 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30? I do believe that adds up to 100. And 100 divided by the 5 elements should be 20. All right, let's see if we can calculate the average 7-day temperature. So I'm going to use my counter variable as my loop control variable. We'll call it day. And then my accumulator is going to be called total temp. And then I'm going to create a while loop with a prompt for the temperature. So the while loop is going to say, while day is less than 7, because I'm starting day at 0, I need day to be my counter. And in order to be able to prompt for the correct temperature day, enter temperature for day 1, day 2, day 3, I'm going to have to make it more user-friendly by saying day plus 1. Otherwise, it would show day 0, day 1, day 2, a little bit like our happy birthday and our cookies. So once we have done that, the next thing that I'm going to do is add my accumulator. So I'm going to add the temperature, current temperature, into my total temp accumulator. And then I'm going to increment my counter, which is also the change of the condition. Then we will calculate the average by taking total temperature and dividing it by a counter. And then finally, I'll print my total just to see if my math is working, and then we'll print the average. And just to make this a little bit better, do you mind if I reduce this to just 3 scores? Because this is running first, so I'll put some scores in there, and then it should begin asking me for 7 temperatures. And this is the point when I say I probably should have chosen a shorter week. So I have all 7 of them in there. It added up to 280. If I divide 280 by 7, it gives me 40. I'm going to run the temperature one more time. And I'm going to put in, they are indeed floating point numbers. So I'm going to put in some strange random floating point numbers. And then we have a couple of more. There you go. So I want you to notice that my total temperature has a whole lot of decimal places, and then my average temperature has even more because of that division. So we already learned that if I wanted to force the number of decimal places, I could put inside of this field right here a full colon followed by a 0.2 if I wanted 2 decimal places, followed by the letter F because average temperature is a floating point. Another option that I have is I could just round the whole entire thing. So let's see if we can round the average temperature using round. This is what it would look like. I'm going to use the keyword round, and whatever I put inside of those parentheses is what it will try to round. What I would really like to have inside of those parentheses is my average temp. So I'm going to put that inside of my parentheses, and I'm going to run it one more time. I have my 3 test scores, and now I have my 7 temperatures. So let me put in some large numbers and see if we can. We have one more. All right, we'll put in one more. There you go. Okay, using that round surrounding the average temp, it did indeed round it to no decimal places. If I wanted to say how far I would like to round it to, I could put a 1 in there, and that would give me 1 decimal place. And since I know you didn't want to watch me type in 7 more numbers for my temperatures, I did it again. And this time you can see that when I put a comma separator between the temperature, if I put a 1 inside of there, it forced it to 1 decimal place using this round